central Oklahoma. That's where we have a severe thunderstorm watch right now. These storms will continue to move north and east over the next several hours, eventually making their way into Arkansas later tonight. We wanted to give you a little forecast discussion, what's going on with these storms and what we expect over the next several hours. We're going to continue to give you updates this evening because it's all about the humidity. How much moisture can we get in from the Gulf of Mexico? The more moisture we get, the stronger the thunderstorms are going to be. If it just can't come in very well, these things will weaken as they cross the state line. That would be good news for us. But at the very least, expect some rain and thunder coming in later tonight after nightfall. Right now, I got sunset going on, and we'll be darker here very shortly. Some of us are kind of turning pretty dark across Arkansas, but right around 9 o'clock or so is when we're expecting some of those storms to start to cross in. All right, so let's dissect these storms a little bit. We'll do what's called a weather discussion in the meteorology world. All right, we're watching all these individual cells right now kind of cluster together across southern Oklahoma. We have some lightning here on the northern cell. What we are watching is that these things are moving into drier air, and so far they're roughly sustaining. They're kind of keeping the same impact. However, back towards the south, where we've got more humidity levels, we're watching these storms continue to fire off pretty decently. This is taking a look at temperatures in the atmosphere. We can monitor what the cloud tops are doing, and where you see that red color is actually where we get the coldest air. And you're noticing some storms on the north side are still being able to continually get a little bit stronger because we have such a strong south wind. The humidity is slowly trying to catch up, but we are producing some storms. No severe storms here at the moment. We had a severe thunderstorm warning a little bit earlier this evening that was expired, that had some hail in it in southern Oklahoma as it was crossing the Red River. But these things will continue to fire up over the next several hours and then push east. We're live on all our platforms on 5newsonline.com, our 5 Plus app, and of course here on YouTube and Facebook as well. But the pink color shows you where that severe thunderstorm watch is. It goes right up to 5 country. We've got Latimer and Haskell counties included as well. But we'll continue to watch these storms. If we can get these just a little bit bigger, they'll be able to easily survive and cross the state line. They may still be weakening as they cross, but we'll watch that. Right now, we've got mostly clear sky. We had some clouds pass through the river valley because we had that little brief shower that came over us in Boonville and Clarksville. We're also monitoring humidity. That's a big, crucial forecast. The darker greens, that's some good, juicy air for these storms to work with. They need some water. Of course, thunderstorms are just basically water, just in a violent state. But you get at Fort Smith and Podo, we've got lower humidity. The magic number, kind of magic number, 60 degrees. In order to really sustain a good thunderstorm, you need humidity values at least at 60. Now, a couple other factors. These storms, as they come in, may start to get a little bit higher, so it's not just about the surface humidity. It depends on some humidity that's higher up in the atmosphere as well. That looks a little bit better. Here at the surface, we're struggling. So what does that mean? What's all that weather jargon really come out to? It means these storms are going to get higher. As these storms get higher, they tap into colder air, and then the hail threat starts to go up. The tornado risk starts to go down. There could be an isolated tornado, especially in the river valley, but the higher risk may be hail because it's accessing colder air. It can't really sustain off the ground. I mean, we've got some dew points still in the 30s. That is almost bone dry. You guys might have noticed some dust on your car this morning. We had a plume of dust come in just less than 12 to 18 hours ago. That's how dry it is. So we're watching the humidity very closely. Here's the latest with Futurecast. We're going to watch these storms come in, but notice when they get a little bit farther north towards northwest Arkansas, they may weaken a little bit. The stronger storms, the ones where you see the difference between nothing to very heavy rain, that's a good indication of how healthy a thunderstorm is. Notice how it's kind of blotchy. You know, it's not as robust of a difference. We call that the gradient. This one is going to be a little bit stronger, but the southern storms just have better heat and humidity, so they'll likely be stronger. You can just see even the darker reds there indicating higher reflectivity values, better storms coming in from the south and the west. But these will crash into the river valley 9, 10 o'clock. Northwest Arkansas, we're getting rain and thunder 9, 10 o'clock, but right at that leading edge near 10 for Fort Smith, Van Buren, Alma, Greenwood, Mansfield, all the way south to almost Waldron will be watching these storms. But it's not going to be very wide. There's a good chance that the rain only hits you for maybe an hour, hour and a half, and then the drier conditions come in, and then it turns a lot colder. So it's not going to rain all night. It's just this quick burst of some heavy rain, some thunderstorms, some lightning, and then maybe some pockets of hail we'll be watching. There could be some gusty winds too, especially on the leading edge. But notice by midnight, as this line pushes through, notice how temperatures are already starting to drop on the back side and on the front side too, because we're in the middle of the night, right? We're starting to cool off. We have that south wind, but we're trying to cool off as well. So these things may start to weaken. Notice that band kind of breaking up a little bit as it gets closer to Clarksville and Boonville and Waldron. I tell you what, if I had to pick an area that would probably have the worst weather tonight, it would be from Sallisaw south into Poteau, and then maybe from Fort Smith south towards Greenwood, and then maybe Waldron. So really we're looking towards LaFleur County, Sebastian County, and Scott County. Most likely will weaken things as we press east. We'll be on tonight. You want an update? Because this is going to be an environment where we have to constantly analyze the humidity. You know, sometimes we have plenty of humidity. We don't really need to talk about it as much. Tonight, that's right at the threshold. So we'll give you updates on what we're seeing. And so you want to keep tuning in because things can change very rapidly in this type of situation, especially here in February. You know, a lot of times we struggle to get all the ingredients in play. We've got rotation, but it's harder to get all the fuel for storms. And we're right on the edge for those fuel requirements. So we'll watch closely. But humidity is increasing tonight, thanks to that south wind. They're already starting to form off towards the west, although it looks like it's just running a little bit weaker than some of these model simulations that we sometimes show you have been indicating. That's good news, but things can change as that strong south wind at multiple levels of the atmosphere try to intensify the storm. New update from the Storm Prediction Center. You're not going to notice a huge change, but we still have that level 2 from about Rogers, Southside Rogers, right there by the Pleasant Grove exit, south all the way throughout the entire River Valley, all the way past Texarkana too. At the same time, we're going to have strong thunderstorms in eastern Arkansas as well. Different setup. We've got a front moving through. That's going to carry our storms in. Towards the east, they've got a warm front. So a batch of storms going to be going on for eastern Arkansas while we've got our thunderstorms. These ones are probably going to be stronger. They have a higher chance of producing tornadoes. The storms will be a little bit lower in the atmosphere, so it's easier to get that rotation and to be able to drop it down. With our thunderstorms, they may be a little bit higher. So if there is rotation, it would just be harder for the atmosphere to actually drop it all the way to the ground. But we'll watch that in eastern Arkansas later tonight. It's all about humidity, though, really. We've been so dry, but we are watching that humidity creep up. We're already pretty much in a good spot for Scott County, but we'll see how far north we can get that humidity. It's going to be tough to get it north of the mountains. We'll see. But we're right on the edge. I tell you what, the storms are probably going to be stronger the farther south you go. Really, even closer to Mena may be a better chance, too. Here's another way to look at timing, though, when these storms are coming in. This dark purple color shows you 7 to 10 p.m. coming in towards the state line into the metros of northwest Arkansas by 10 o'clock right in Fort Smith, Van Buren. After 10, we push into the rest of the River Valley, into Franklin, Johnson, Logan counties. Scott County, we're included in that as well. Central Arkansas kind of has the best of both worlds because you got storms to your east, you got storms to your west, and by the time that you can get towards Little Rock and Conway, they're probably going to be a lot weaker. So it's really kind of highlighting the west side of Arkansas and the east side of Arkansas. But they also have a tornado risk in the eastern portion of the state from 10 p.m. to 3 a.m. That's why I try to match the color pretty closely to the one off towards the west. It kind of looks a little wonky, but 2 separate firing zones with this one. Here's a statewide view of some of those storms coming in. We'll just watch to see how robust they can get, because once we get to 9 o'clock, the storms are likely not going to get much stronger than they are by 9. So if 9 comes in and we're just talking about rain and thunder, we may be in a good state. We'll watch things overnight. You know, every once in a while, you can get a storm to flare up real quick. If you guys remember the Springdale tornado, that's kind of what happened. Weak rain, some thunder coming in, and only for about 5 to 10 minutes, the storm wrapped up, produced a tornado, picked it back up, and then the storm just completely dissolved. And that stuff can happen. We'll watch closely for you. We'll give you those updates. But we'll watch right around 9 o'clock to see how strong the thunderstorms are. Then they press eastbound coming into Fort Smith and Van Buren. Poteau were included, Pecola, Cameron, Shady Point, Spiro, Sallisaw. But we'll watch the leading edge. If you can get these nooks, that's never good news. You get gusty winds, and sometimes you can get a mechanical turning of the winds, and you can get a quick tornado spin up, possibly on the leading edge. But we'll watch that. But the biggest threat will be in the River Valley. Northwest Arkansas, a bit cooler. Some rain and thunder definitely likely. But then that line really dissolves. By 2 o'clock, I think we can all rest peacefully. Don't have to worry about the weather anymore. We're going to worry about trying to dress tomorrow morning, just trying to stay warm. We're going to watch temperatures drop throughout the morning. So if you're waking up, heading out the door at 5 o'clock, you may still have 40s. Now, technically, the high temperature is not going to be 37 tomorrow. If you want to be real technical, 1 a.m., we could still be having some 50s. But, of course, most of us are asleep. Really, the afternoon temperature is what we decided to go with here for the 7-day. We're only going to top out in those mid-30s throughout much of the daylight hours. When we're actually headed out and about, it's going to be a lot cooler for your Thursday. We're going to warm up this weekend back to 50s and 60s. I think we keep most of the sunshine through about President's Day, we'll start to watch clouds increase a bit. We've got some scattered shower chances coming up for Tuesday and for parts of next week as well. Later tonight at 10, I'll show you that 10-day forecast, and we'll show you those updates. It could kind of turn rainy by the second half of next week, looking at some early indications. I'm backing things up, show you a quick radar loop. We're still watching these storms push off. What you're noticing is these streaks. They're pretty intense, blowing off towards the north and east because we've got such a strong southerly wind. The jet stream's coming in, and so we've got a lot of energy trying to push in from the south, but boy, we need a little bit more if we want these thunderstorms to thrive anymore. Of course we don't, but from a storm's perspective, you want that south wind. We're still watching the strongest storms kind of here on the southwest side. We got a little bit of lightning reporting just on the south side of Oklahoma City, kind of towards Moore and Norman. We'll watch those as they move east, but we still have several hours. I don't think we have to worry for at least the next 2.5, 3 hours. By 9 o'clock, we'll give you more updates as these storms are coming in. Make sure you keep it local, keep it here, and as always, we'll keep you advised.